So, good evening, Angela. Happy Resurrection Sunday, and I'm so happy to have you this evening. It's exactly 8:50 p.m. in Ghana. What time is it in the UK, Angie? In the US, sorry. Hello, Angie. Hello.
So good evening. My time is 4:50 in the US. Happy Resurrection Sunday to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Angie. It's so nice to have you today. I know you are one of the busiest women on this planet. I mean, it's been so difficult getting, I mean, both of us have a very good schedule to just meet and talk. And so I'm so happy that today, Resurrection Sunday, we get to do this and we get to educate.
And it's actually a perfect day to get this done.
Right.
So when it comes to spirituality, what I'm going to focus on today will be a few things, but not limited to meditation, journey. When it comes to spirituality, it's a very controversial topic, right? It comes with a lot of perceived disagreements. In reality, there are really no right or wrong answers, because we are all in the world trying to figure out what our spirituality is, right? We can use facts from the past. We can use data of what has happened, right? I'm a Bible-believing Christian, and I tell people that I call myself more spiritual lately than I used to call myself before. The reason is because spirituality involves the recognition of a feeling of a sense of a higher being, more supreme than myself. Absolutely. Right? That I know that there's somebody in control. I don't know who that person is. I've never seen this person, but I know that the world is being controlled by someone, and this person is the great one, right? And it's also understanding that in spirituality, there's something more to being human than the sensory experience. Right. So when I say that, I'm talking about our touch, our smell, our feel, all of that. It's more than that. If you want to rely only on that, we are not progressing on the pilgrim's journey by taking care of all our aspects of spiritual, or all aspects of self-care.
Absolutely.
I'm saying this because a lot of people are so into other self-care and don't focus on spiritual self-care. But I can tell you that when I took my spiritual self-care to another level, my purpose aligned better. I was able to understand what my purpose is, right? So for a lot of people, maybe it's not like mine, but for a lot of people who haven't figured out their purpose, or it's not clear to them, is that your spiritual aspects has not been developed like the other parts, right? So I work out a lot. You can see my muscles when you see me. You can see that I'm fit when you see me, right? Is that the same way I'm fit spiritually? Because it's a self-care. It's the different components. There are components of it. There's the physical, there's the spiritual, there's the psychological, there's the relational. All of it is one big thing. And missing one of it can cause your life not to be full. You won't be experiencing the fullness that you're supposed to be experiencing. And I have to tell you that there's a peace that comes when you build your spirituality. So I just want to clarify something. When I talk about spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. I'm really not, right? I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about, where do I find meaning? I'm talking about where do I find meaning? I'm talking about how do I feel connected? And I'm talking about how should I live, right, Dr. Otchere? Where do I find meaning? For me, I find meaning in the Bible, right? I find meaning by what I learned from the Bible. That's where I find meaning from. How do I feel connected? I feel connected to the Supreme Being because I have a relationship with him. I believe that, right? And how should I live? That's spirituality. How should you live? There's a way to live when you're spiritual, because what you do influences whether you're being spiritual or whether you're being religious. So what is the difference between spirituality and religion? Religion is practices, is rites, is rituals that you want to follow. That's, you do it as a religion. It's something that you do. Things could be going off balance, but you're going to do exactly what you're supposed to do. You're doing your religion. You could be passing by and somebody could be dying, but you know what? You're on your way to church. That's religion. So you're going to pass that person and go, right? What is right and wrong? That's religion. Religion teaches us what right is from wrong. And that's why some people say, you know what, I'm into this religion, I'm into that religion. It's okay if they're into religions. I just say that at this point, I'm very spiritual. But different religions have taught right, wrongs, right? Christian religion, the Muslim, if you're Muslim, if you're Buddhist, you know, and all these religions, there's one similarity, is that we all recognize that there's a supreme being, right? But how we're connecting to this supreme being is different. And I always tell my kids that somebody cannot tell you how you connect to the supreme being. You have to make that your search. That has to concern you. And the reason why I say this is because I was teaching my kids in Sunday school. This is my new role that I play in church. And I was telling them, love the Lord with your heart, your soul, and your strength, your might, right? And loving someone with your heart means you persist and you pursue them. So you can't tell me you love God if you're not pursuing, right? If you're not learning more about him, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do to make you better or to be more connected to the spiritual or that bigger power, right? That bigger power that is in the cosmos, or that spiritual being that keeps you grounded and focused. I have to say that if you're not spiritual, when you're walking on earth, you're basically, I don't want to say that you're living an on-purpose life, but it's possible that if you don't build the spirituality of your life, that you're not living according to purpose. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, spirituality doesn't affect our senses. It has to do with more of what is right? What is beyond what we can touch, feel. And the more you get spiritual, the more you realize that there's a lot of things beyond your control, right, Dr. Otchere? So many things beyond your control, so many things beyond our might, so many things beyond our plan, that we plan, which is important that we plan because, right, in our emotional self-care, in our psychological self-care, we have to plan. However, there's a lot of things that we don't control. We have absolutely no control over. All right. So when it comes to spirituality, people want to talk about different things. People are into all these things, right? There are all these aspects of it. There's relationships, there are values, and there are life purposes, right? How do you treat people if you call yourself spiritual? How do you value the things, the people that you've been given? Like I always tell people, I don't care if your talent is small. To some were given 2, some were given 1, some were given 4. What are you doing with it? That's the value, right, Dr. Otchere? That's the value of what we've placed on what you've been given. And then life purpose. What is your purpose? What are you supposed to have done in the world before you leave, right? Some are given 5 years, some are given 2 months, some are given even conceiving time when they're in the stomach for 9 months. Some don't make it after that, right? We do not have answers for these. I have to tell you that the interesting thing is I've listened to different religions about spirituality and afterlife, and it baffles me. And that's why I always tell people that you have to know your truth, right? And pursue your truth so people can tell you. Because if I didn't know more about what the Bible told me, I'd have believed that truth, right? I'd have believed the other truth that I heard. But I'm very sure of what I hear. Even yesterday, I went to Memorial Online, and the person was teaching about, it was great. The very great, clear minister on Friday, he was teaching about Jesus only is going to be with 144,000 people according to the book of Revelation. I was listening to the message, right? But I know my truth is, Jesus said that in my Father's house are many mansions, right? If it were not so, I would not have told you. And then he said, I go and prepare a place for you. He said that where I am, there you will be also, right? Me knowing about my spirituality, I did listen to him, but he didn't change my mind at all. I'm very convinced about my path. At this point, I'm very convinced, like I'm not even afraid of death anymore, right? It's because when you understand spirituality, you understand that there's a day to be born and there's a day to die. And in between those two times that you've not been told when, some people are lucky they get sick. And I always tell people that people don't even realize that when they say, oh, somebody's sick and they're dying, you don't realize how powerful that could be in terms of making amends with your past, making peace with everyone. Some people don't get that opportunity. You know what I'm saying, Dr. Otchere?
Yeah,
so
between
the time of birth and the time of death.
Yeah, even with COVID and all that, people just had, had what seemed to be a simple cold, and they were gone the next minute. So I agree with you. As for me, in terms of that critical point where I felt that I was dying, and some way, somehow, life was resuscitated in me,
Correct.
I literally died.
Correct.
I saw my spirit leave my body, and this was after a bout of harsh treatment, Angie. I saw my spirit leave my body, and there's life after death. So that's my truth, that's my truth.
That's your truth,
Yeah, the experience that spirituality would come with your truth. No one can come and tell me that the cross has no power, because I got to a point where I thought I was dying, and it was just the power of the cross. I don't know how God just raised me up, but all of a sudden I had people coming my way, but I had support from my pastors, I had support from strangers. One day, 2 people walked into my home. They said they were pastors and came in to pray for me. I'm telling you, before then, I think one of the services, so this was an open, so my pastor was ministering, and then he says that, look, I see you weeping. He just picked me up. He said, look, I see you weeping and weeping. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that there is all.
Because I have to say that I didn't experience true spirituality. I had an experience maybe 15 years ago when I knew that there was God. I knew my connection with His Son. I knew of that, but it wasn't until right before I turned 40, or maybe 40, Dr. Otchere, that I can tell you that I know I'm spiritual. And why? Why is that I know I'm spiritual? Because I'm fearless. I have no goal. Then maybe you should start looking into that, right? You should start wanting to experience more of that. You should start letting that spiritual aspect of you connect. Why? Because when we die, they bury this dust. But Angela speaking now doesn't get to speak when I'm dead, God forbid, right? Where is that Angela going? That's what I ask myself. But that's one of the first signs that I realized that I was spiritual, not being afraid, being fearless. That's the first sign, my dear. Because being fearless of death, being fearless of life circumstance. Look, you have to wake up, Dr. Otchere, with your chest up, with your head up, with your chest out, right? And knowing that every single day of your life, every minute, every hour, every second, I know that my supreme being is in charge of me and nobody has access to me. And if they happen to have access to me, I know that He allowed it. That's where I'm at. That's the first step of spirituality. Not being afraid. Seeing things as they are. Some of us want to fake things, sugarcoat things, like you said. We are made to come into terms of human beings. Look, diseases are part of how God makes us to realize that we are human. Our bodies do decay. We get born, and it's so. You heard about the was it Tom Cruise one of the actors whose memory is gone, right? One of our biggest actors, but that's life. That is part of it, Dr. Otchere. That is seeing things as they are. We deteriorate. We get sick. Our bodies go through all these things, but all of that, every activity, there's something about Lady Pastor, Lady Reverend Lady Williams always say something that I've never forgotten. I heard this when I was in my 20s. She said that there's seemingly normal things, the daily seemingly normal things that looks to you like it's normal. It has a spiritual backing. Because how did you meet your husband? How did you get married? How did you have your 2 kids? It was purpose, right? It was planning, it was fulfillment. It looked seemingly natural.
Right.
But it's not. There's a path through it. You see what I'm saying? So seeing things as they are, not to fake it, make it crazy. I know that there's another aspect. I do. I've seen it in dreams. I've seen it in different ways. I know. I'm convinced. So it doesn't matter what people tell me. I've watched shows that dispute that. I've watched shows that dispute there's no life after this. That's fine. That's that person's show. But I am convinced what I have and what I know. And so, like I tell everybody, it's an individual journey.
Yeah.
Don't let people talk you into their journey.
Absolutely. And
don't let people talk you into their journey.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful you and I get to talk about this, because spiritual care will change your perspective about a lot of things. When it comes to status, it will change your perspective about it, when it comes to recognition and all that, when you find true life purpose and meaning, I mean, these things won't be you. I remember very well when I graduated with my PhD, and then I was with a hospital. So my supervisor said, look, you're gonna walk through this hospital and you're going to insist that everyone calls you doctor. And I'm like, okay, I hear. But I'm just saying this because I think when you get to that sense of spirituality, some things don't matter again. They don't. It's not about status. It's not about what you have, what you don't have. It's not about trying to keep up.
It's like putting things into perspective. I have to tell you, since I got to that level of spirituality, what people say, I don't even hear it. It's almost like I don't have enough time. You know what I'm saying? I'm running out of time to fulfill my purpose. And that's what I realized. Like, I used to be, before, I was never the person who was concerned so much about what people said. But as human beings, certain things will get to you, right? You can get deviated. Like I told you, it hasn't been too long. But since I really got a grip of it properly, Dr. Otchere, every day for me is an opportunity to get going, to stay focused, to finish my course, to finish my race. What am I supposed to do? And you see, I'm extremely busy. I don't leave any time for idleness in my life.
Right.
You understand what I'm trying to say? I am extremely busy because I've realized that time is of essence. Time is important. The kids, they are growing daily.
Yeah.
Right? We are growing daily. Life is changing constantly. Like in the spiritual self-care, like I said, the first time we talked about being fearless, right? Seeing things like they are. Right. One of the things is also not speaking ill or gossip about others. When you become so spiritual, Dr. Otchere, like you said, a lot of these things don't even matter.
Yeah.
And you start to understand that things, you start to see things beyond just the physical, just beyond the physical level.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of answers to a lot. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because you realize that most things are not just on the level that we try to explain it off at. It's just like a therapist, Dr. Otchere. You and I in a job where people dump on us, right? And in our type of job, Dr. Otchere, if we are not spiritual, I know therapists who have gone through all type of bad things because they shed something ground.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We take it. Yeah. So I realized that if I didn't get my spiritual
of that list, so you have the psychiatrist.
Yes. Yeah, psychiatry, yes, Dr. Otchere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Most of my friends, I don't know how I could go out there and help people support them, but then when issues. You see, because it's a spiritual thing, Dr. Otchere. Like I said, we want to counsel some of these things away. Therapy is great. I believe strongly in that.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things, we can't just let it go. I believe strongly, but Jesus said that some of these things don't go away except through prayer and fasting.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that. So, Dr. Otchere, like you said, like psychologists, psychiatrists, everybody in the mental health field, another level. I always say that there are differences. You see, if only we were using the people rightly, if only we're using our pastors for the spiritual aspect, right? And we're using our therapists for the physical aspects, the emotional aspects, we won't burn them out too much. But Dr. Otchere, we are walking around with a lot of spiritual baggage. People are coming to us with a lot of spiritual baggage, and they're infiltrating their spiritual baggages on us. So until we get our spiritual life to a certain level, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. And another thing is that you are loving and kind. When you become spiritual, Dr. Otchere, you go beyond. Your judgment level reduces, right? You see things, it bothers you. You know, I always tell people, it doesn't mean that it's not the absence of problems, right? But it's being able to handle situations and being loving and kind, very loving and kind. Is that there's only one person that I've seen that in. There's a woman who was in my church who passed away, Mrs. Levy, and actually wanted that thing that she had, the non-judgmentalness, you know. And Dr. Otchere, it was important for me to work on my spiritual life because I work with children. So can you imagine a Muslim child coming to me? Am I going to be loving? Can you imagine a Buddhist child coming to me? Am I going to be loving?
Or a gay,
I'm just be loving
a gay, someone who is gay.
Spirituality, love everyone. Why do I say that? I say because the Bible says that Christ died for everyone whilst we were. Oh yeah, I work with the LGBT community. Actually, I'm even on the board. I'm on the board of one of highest. I'm on the board of highest, and I serve it proudly. I serve by giving counseling to people, right? I serve by doing the kind. But Dr. Otchere, love is the ultimate thing. And if you look at all, don't even talk about religion, but if you look about all the different religions, if you don't talk about spirituality, if you talk about religion, throughout all the different aspects, love is key. Love, being kind, being loving, being kind, being compassionate. Something in you, that's what we're teaching kids, empathy. Because empathy builds, as they grow, empathy is what builds. But what is love? Love is kind. Love is all the fruits. Love is all the fruits and aspects of it, right? So it's the being patient, being kind, being gentle, not being selfish, not being judgmental, loving it when it suffers long. All of that are the aspects of the love. Right. And we have to be loving. So when I say you are loving, I'm talking about everything in 1 Corinthians 13. It's right. Tough, right? So if you have to be spiritual, it's a long journey and it's a daily journey. Because you have to check your heart daily. This monk, I've learned to be able to let a lot go. I do. And for anyone who will watch the show, I'd like you to sit and ask yourself, do you believe that? And like I said, it's a matter of personal decision. It's a matter of you. If you are convinced in your heart, then that's it. Yeah. You are the person. You have a soul, right? Your body. So you know. Dr. Otchere, I didn't even get to the main points yet, but I'm just trying to talk about how we know that we are spiritual, and I'll get to that. Right. And also is that we meditate. You are not spiritual if you don't meditate, right? People meditate in different ways. Some people meditate where they chant. You know, I told you that I started taking some yoga classes, and I don't take all the yoga classes because some of them are different. They do different things in it. Yeah. And there was a class that was singing.
It's more of Eastern religion. I'm find
Correct.
that infused aspect of Eastern religion into it.
It is. It definitely is infused aspect of Eastern religion, and they had singing bowls. So singing bowls is like Sanskrit, right? Called Sanskrit, and then they do the single bowls, and then they pass the bowl around. I didn't participate, but I stood there and I watched them in awe, and I was like, interesting. Like, this is what you believe. So what is wrong with me speaking in tongues?
Yeah.
As you're speaking, they say the thing about Sanskrit that they're speaking an unknown language, right? Or a Sanskrit, right? I might not be saying it right, but it's constant meditation and constant speaking. However, for me, tongues, I speak of things that I don't even know about, right? But I know that it's working. And that's why I said that you can't, this journey of spirituality has to be an individual walk. It has to be one that you have made up your mind to search. You're going to go deep and you're going to realize that your soul is eternal. However, you meditate. How do we meditate? Reading a Bible, focusing on it, listening to music. Music can take you to another level. You see, meditation is different. Meditation is focusing and concentrating. That is very important. I didn't even get to the breakdown of meditation yet, but we'll get to that because that's the first one on the point. And also, you know you're spiritual if you realize, or if you know, or if you feel your life has a purpose. People that if only you understood your life's purpose, like you'd be running right now. You know that there's no time. The reason why you know that there's no time is that tomorrow is not promised. Yeah. So every day is for you to get on it, work on it, keep getting better, keep doing what you do, and keep moving. All right. And also being spiritual is when you take care of your mental and physical health. Dr. Otchere, I want to announce this to people. Look, there are certain problems that God knows that we deal with, right? And he's also given us wisdom on how to mitigate some of these problems. Yeah. Our physical self-care and our health, we have control of that. For the most part, right? We have control of what we eat. We have control of how we move our bodies. We have control of what not to eat. We have control of where to sleep. That's also, we have control of a lot of things, right? We have to save a lot of the prayers for the things we don't have control of. Like when you're on the road for safety, you know, for your parents to live long. But you can't constantly be praying. Look, praying for health is good. I realized that there's a place where the surgeon's scapula can never reach. I've realized that, Dr. Otchere. I've realized that there's a place where the CAT scan and all the scans cannot reach, right? That it only takes the balm of Gilead to do that. I realized that. However, we have control of certain aspects. Healing is needed. Healing is important. But the ones that we can control, if you don't take care of your physical aspect, Dr. Otchere, as we are talking, if it's anybody who's listening, if you're not taking care of what you eat, if you're not doing some physical activities, if you're not doing all of that, I mean, think about it. You're not being spiritual enough. It's because, Dr. Otchere, you haven't been to the place where your level of awakening is there. Dr. Otchere, I intermittent fast most of the time. Why? Because of how it makes me feel. I'm very productive, right? I even changed my diet to plant-based because of how it made me feel. When I read about Daniel, Daniel was more voluptuous when he ate vegetables. And I can at least try. I can try to do certain things that will prevent me from having certain things. The ones that I have control of, that's all I want to say. Some of the things that we are born with, we can't help it, right? Some of the things that developed while we were young, we didn't know, we can't help it. We're dealing with them right now, right? Some of those health battles. But we're not about to give ourselves more issues when we understand spirituality. Right. We have to live a spiritual life. How do we do it? We have to read. If you call yourself spiritual, you have to read your spiritual book. So my spiritual book is the Bible, right? You have to read it every day. Not just read it, but meditate on it. You see, Dr. Otchere, the difference between reading and meditation, if you think about the meditation when the Buddhist people are doing it, it's a constant stillness of quietness, right? It's until something enters you. The word has to enter. If it's a Bible, you have to read it every day. And also, we have to practice gratitude. My daughter gave me a gratitude jar. right? Where every day I could write what I was grateful for. And when I started practicing that, Dr. Otchere, I stopped complaining. Day spring, another day is completely winter, right?
Yeah.
So that is to say that spending time in nature is important. When you walk on the beach, see, all of these things was made to make us understand and get close to the spiritual source. Because it's what, have you walked on the beach before? Have you felt the ocean and how it rushes? Have you listened to the water, the sound of the waves? Have you seen how the water comes and recedes? Have you seen how the sun is uncountable? Have you seen when you start, like even in the springtime, when I start driving now, in the morning, it's almost like a rainbow, but it's not. It's like a purplish, orangish, bright morning. The trees are all beginning to blossom. They're all beginning to have some flowers. Just driving it and taking it all in. When I drive now, I take it all in. I look. And now I even turn on my heat and I open the window and I get the fresh air. It's all part of it, Dr. Otchere. Running outside, walking outside, spending time gardening, all right, riding your bicycle, enjoying nature, going to the beach, walking on the sand, touching the salt water. Nature and nature's experience is so powerful. Dr. Otchere, could be another, like I said, it could be, all of these subtopics could be another topic of its own. We just don't have the time. So it's to say that get out in nature. Don't spend a lot of time indoors. You don't have a lot of time in life. You know, we go to work 7 days a week. On your day off, it's important to rest. Like I tell my children in Sunday school, you know, air it out, you know, put like the everything, the manure, all the stinky poop or thing that we use, and then plant my seed and then watch it grow, right? And the reason why I say that is when you even start to understand those things, you understand that life is a season. There's a time to plant, there's a time to grow, right? I've even come to there's a time to be born, there's a time to die. There's a time for war, there's a time for peace. There's a time for love, there's a time for hate. There's a time for everything. And so actually, the timings will be different for us. So maybe in my life, right, I'm experiencing fullness, right? I'm experiencing everything in fullness. Or maybe I'm not experiencing everything in fullness, but I choose to see it that way, right? And then in another person's life, they're in another season. So your wilderness season is different from my wilderness season, right? But we all go through our seasons. Everyone has their share. My mom always says, everyone gets a fair share. It's just when. That's the question. And another thing, Dr. Otchere, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Angie.
I love the way you are really listening. I thought I
you
lost
want
you
me
for a
to
second.
add something to that?
I would love for you to add something to it. Yes.
I think now there's an aspect of therapy that is also moving towards the external environment. So a feel with nature, you know, and like go out, get some fresh air, focus on greens, you know. Someone was just educating me about a form of visualization that was primarily centered on greens. So she was telling me that, so you have the clients go out and all they have to do is look out for the greens and focus on the greens, and using the power of visualization, use that energy to heal their bodies. I said, wow, this is lovely, you know, so lovely. And then she was also explaining that the greens, it wasn't just about the color, but there's a whole psychological process to it that helps, you know,
I've heard about that.
Rejuvenation and all that. So I'm happy. I was very excited when you talked about, you know, stillness and quietness and, you know, the touch with nature and all that. I thought, well, those were very good points as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to add something. Like, there's a little research out there because I've been reading and talking to a few people, and people, like, the new thing, because I tell people I'm spiritual, and somebody said to me on my job, yeah, I'm spiritual too. I don't believe in all this religious thing. So I was like, relax. When I say I'm spiritual, I'm not talking about some of the spiritual things that people say. I'm just saying that I say I'm spiritual because I'm more aware, right? I've accepted life. Like, I'm no longer afraid, right? And one of the biggest things, like I talked about, is you're not spiritual if you haven't come to terms with death. You're not, because we just don't know when, right? But but just be careful. The reason I want to throw this out there is that 37% of people who call themselves spiritual don't even believe that there's a God. Right? 68% of people who call themselves spiritual believe that there's a God. And 58% believe in a deep connection to the earth. So this is to say that when people talk about spirituality, they're talking about different aspects. Some people are so connected to just nature that that's their God, right? Because that's why some people are very connected to earth. That is a connection of body to body, senses to senses. When I talk about spirituality, I'm talking about beyond this world, like my soul, where my soul goes. That's basically what I look at. And when I say where my soul goes, it's why I'm practicing spirituality, why I'm trying to make sure that I'm fearless, why I'm trying to make sure that I'm kind and loving, why I'm trying to make sure that I read my text and my sacred text. Why? That is the reason why. Did I make myself clear, Dr. Otchere? Because I don't also want to confuse people.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
All right. So another thing is also retreats. Retreats, Dr. Otchere. I always tell people, if you believe in something, if you don't get better at it, I mean, with our jobs, we're expected to do professional development, right? You're expected to do all these things constantly, right? To get us better. If you say you're spiritual, I mean, some people say they don't go to church. I get it. Some people say they're not into that. But if you're not also doing anything that is enhancing your growth, then I beg to pardon that that's a problem. And I also tell people that it's not just so people can bury you, but as you want to be by yourself, who do you want to take care of you, right? When something happens to you, you say, I walk alone, like ocean, the breeze. Just get some rest. It's a very spiritual thing. Rejuvenating is spiritual. Because if you don't rejuvenate, you know that you are silencing your soul if you don't rejuvenate, right? Because you can't just keep going. You're not giving your soul any part to shine. You're not giving your soul any part to say, I'm part of this whole journey. Hello, I'm here. Like, you've had a manicure, you've had a pedicure, you've eaten. I'm also here. You never took care of me. So people say, oh, how come I'm not? You can meet your friend and not talk about anything. You can be still and quiet. You can be still and you could just wake up and go sit by the beach all day. You could wake up and just sit in front of your porch all day. If I tell you how much I've gotten out of being still and quiet, that taught you the ideas that come to my mind, the plans, the things that just being still and quiet it has to do with rejuvenating a spiritual aspect. So it's very important. And one of the things that I talk about is minimalism. I talk about that because I had to deal with minimalism, right? The aspect of living with less. And the first time I heard of this was when I was in grad school. I believe it was 2017, thereabout. One of my professors said she's a minimalist. She and her husband are minimalists. So I said to her, what does that mean? She said, we barely have any furniture in our house. We have something to sleep on. We don't necessarily buy couches. And so, I mean, there are different types of minimalists, but all I'm trying to say is that don't be a hoarder. Don't always take it in.
Yeah.
You got to give away. You got to give away. And Dr. Otchere, when I say give away, I mean giving away in different things. Giving away, and we have to give. You see, when it comes to giving, I don't know what it's difficult for people to understand. It's a principle. Dr. Otchere, you can be a Muslim, a Christian, or whatever. The principle of giving, it always brings back, is a principle, right? And once you start beginning to develop that minimalistic mentality, I don't need all these clothes. I don't need all these shoes. I don't need, give them away. Start giving them away. Be surprised that I realize I give certain things away and I get the same things in gifts in a better form. And I'm like, they're watching me. So it's just, it's a principle, Dr. Otchere. I don't look for people to give me. I am always looking for opportunities to give. And people might think that that's a slow part of me, but people don't realize I have reaped a millionfold. I can't even tell you some of these things. Fine protocol won't allow me to tell you some of the blessings that I've received from just giving. And what was I giving? Some was time. Okay, some was my ears. I gave away my ears. I gave away my hug. You know, I gave away my food, maybe a few clothes. You know, it's given in every aspect. But having that minimalistic mentality, Dr. Otchere, we can't take any of these things there. Tell me to put these things in the U-Haul and follow you with it.
Yeah.
Like the gold watch you're so crazy about, your kids can't touch, they can't even see. Somebody will just pick it up and drop it, or somebody just take it and go to the corner and sell it for like what? For cheaper than you bought it.
Angie, even fighting for earthly things, fighting, you know, people, another aspect of hoarding, especially in our part of the world, people
Hoarding. Thank you.
Fight for things that are not rightfully theirs. I mean, they'll go take somebody's husband, they'll go fight for properties that are not theirs. They know they had no contribution towards them. It's just an aspect of hoarding as well, and trying to take things that are not duly theirs. And I think if you really understand spiritual care and the role of spiritual care in the totality of life, I don't think hoarding will be an aspect of your general well-being. No. I think that
I thought you like
still the reason that people do not understand, people do not understand the role of spiritual. I mean, they have all the religious class and they also have all the religious things, and for them that's the badge. But a very firm understanding of it, no, not at all.
Even if my name was on it, I didn't need it. How many places can I live at once? You see, minimalism is about committing to owning less, Dr. Otchere, believe it or not. And you see, why this makes sense to me in why every religion practices it, the Buddhist practices, and I believe that Christians have to practice, because Jesus told them that you should go and sell your things and come back and follow me. He was trying to teach them minimalism. You can't have all these and follow him, right? So minimalism is committing to owning less rather than declaring often. So some people, it's more like, oh, I'll just declare, right? But owning less. Dr. Otchere, believe it or not, I'm trying to only own like a few pair of jeans. Why do I need 10? Maybe all I need is one black, one blue, one cream, right? I've started. I'm working on minimalism. I've not gotten there yet, not even close, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm giving more away, right? I'm owning less. What is important to own? If you think about it, what is important to own apart from real estate, Dr. Otchere, and certain things? What is important to own? Clothes? Really? Shoes? Cars? Not really. So just habits, some of our beliefs, some of our patterns, and even the way we think about some things, Dr. Otchere, we have to change our mind. In Ghana, family members are fighting over properties. Well, if you already have a house, yes, your parents must have left it for you. If your other person is homeless, like, come on, just try to own less. I'm not speaking for anybody. I don't know what people are going through, but when you get to the place where, and I'm not saying don't try to be achieving, don't try to have properties. That's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about for your benefit, right? If you're building to rent, that's real estate, that's money, that's income, that's great. I'm talking about things for you. You're only one person.
And
all I'm saying.
obsession, I think the problem is the obsession with it, and the insensitive way of accruing these properties, especially if we know that they are
right. And like you said, insensitive. Like most people, all they want to do is to accrue what they want, right? But not realizing that it comes with its own issues. I mean, you could get what you want, but does that make you happy? No. Like you said, insensitive ways. And you see, I believe that certain paths that we lead, we are just making certain things harder for certain people. Like if you're trying to get somebody's husband in a way that is not right, I mean, you're trying to get somebody's property in a way that is not right. As long as you can live with yourself. But I can say that your spirituality has not. There's a little more journey to do in spirituality, right? And I thought you want to add something, or we should just keep going, because I wanted to give the benefits of being.
You can keep going, Angie.
Money is like spirit. You have to spend less money because we're constantly giving it away, right? In spending, we have to have a happy mindset. We are even telling the one who gives us the money that we don't know how to spend it. So we have to spend less. And we have to stop comparing. A lot of people compare themselves to others, right? A lot of people think they get, the fashion is here this year, but you don't have to wear it this year. I don't believe that it was made for you to wear this year. Yes, they are making it seem like you just have to wear it this year. But that's what social media is promoting. But you're not social media, right? And like I always tell a few of my friends, Kim Kardashian and them, they're supposed to promote their brand. They're supposed to wake up every day and take pictures with their clothes. But it's up to you to spend your money or not. They don't force you. They're just telling you what is cute. However, they're promoting their brand, right? So you're either investing in theirs or you're investing in your own. You're not. I've never felt more intelligent. I've never felt more complete. And it's because I know where I'm at now. And I just understand that I'm in transition and I don't have a lot of time. There's only a certain amount of time that I have the physical strength to do what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
People would like to take one thing, right? One thing from today about spirituality. I just have to first. People think that the fact that they don't talk about it means it's not there. But it's something that you have to look into. It's like in our lives, certain things you don't want to talk about, right? Even sometimes you don't want to go to the doctors because you don't want to get certain diagnosis.
Yeah.
But you have to go, because how are you going to eat right if you don't know your blood type? How are you going to eat right if you don't know what your blood needs at this moment? If you don't know if you're lacking iron, or if you're lacking magnesium, or if you're lacking certain vitamins, right? We don't like to do that, but I think that spirituality is one of the things that every human being just has to come face to face with and hit it face front and just deal with it and make that aspect of yourself a crucial one. Like I wake up in the morning with my Brooklyn Tabernacle on, or my Fred Hammond on, or Jonathan McReynolds on. I can go on and on and on, my list on. Those songs, I need my spirit to be quickened when I wake up. I need to wake up. This is not just a physical path. And I have to say, some people also focus so much on the spiritual aspect, which I could call maybe, are those like things that we get to learn from the past? What are those things called? Like things that are inbuilt in us, like culture. Ghana, everything, if somebody's child died, they say you went to sell them for something. What are those things called? Like all those things. Is it things that we grow with, like perceptions and ideas that we grow with?
Absolutely.
I mean, some people think they're spiritual, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. And there are different levels of spirituality. If you think you're spiritual and you're dealing with anything physical, I believe that that's not spirituality, because I'm more concerned about the soul and where you're going after here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope I was clear a bit.
Yeah, I think you were very, very clear. Very clear. Angie, is there another aspect